I think the funniest trend out in the moment is the "we done with the '90s" trend, and rightfully so, man. Not that like we done with it, but like the fact that it's getting highlighted like this, I think is beautiful, right? I mean, even if you take a look, we're in the '80s right now, where Jordan started winning MVPs, right? And if we start getting into the '90s here, I mean, even Magic got one at 90, but if you just take a look, all right, let's look at some of the best players in the '90s. I mean, Magic is slowly getting out of his prime here, but you see he's still racking up these MVP votes. You got David Robinson, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, Clyde Glide. You see Patrick Ewing. A lot of the people you see on here though are, big men. You know what I mean? For the most part, you got Tim Hardaway, even Mark Price, 17 points a game. I mean, we still go through. Look, Charles won. That boy Chuck, big man taking over pretty much, bro. And you got Jordan. Jordan didn't play then, but like big man, look, big man. You got Penny, but mostly big man. You got Gary Payton on there. A young Grant Hill starting on, be on the come up. Look, guard starting to take over a little bit. So when you look at it, we done been through this now. I think that was the last year, '98, and Jordan won another MVP at 34 years old, right? I want y'all to take a look at who he was going against, and it's not to knock those players. It's not knocking those players at all. It's just putting it on a level of comparison. Like the problem with the "we done with the '90s" thing, it's not the problem with it, but the problem with people that your Jordan diehard fans just don't believe in evolution of the game, right? And they believe that, don't get me wrong. I think Jordan has one of the greatest legacies. We talk about making the game global. We talk about the shoes. We talking about no game sevens in the finals, going 6-0. I think I mean, he could have left the game with the last shot against the Jazz, and it would have put a stamp on that career. Like, that's how you go out. You feel me? But then when you look at like the games, you actually watch the skill level of the games. Yes, Jordan was uh just light years ahead of the competition, right? And people use that to say that for his argument of being, the GOAT and things like that. Um, which you start getting into a conversation of like best in their era, which is an easier conversation than the best out of everybody, which I think it's gonna evolve. I think the thing with Bron fans is they're not just set in Bron being the GOAT, right? Let's say Wimby comes around and just starts shattering some of those, not just longevity stats, but um just dominating the competition. Nobody is going to, well, I mean, you'll have some people, maybe that are just gonna try to hold on to um what Brian did. But if you have somebody that's just killing those numbers, right? eh, Nobody's gonna hold on to Brian being the GOAT. And then you look at the times. they start calling this the kind of like the modern era. This isn't modern era at all. 90s basketball is nowhere near the same basketball being played in the uh 2010s, 2020s. Not even close. Whole different style of play. Talent is different. The 2000s were kind of turning into that toward the modern style. Um, but it just is not that. So you have guys like, I mean, you got, come on now, you got a young Shaq on here, but I mean, if you're saying that the best players that Jordan went up against is Clyde, Charles Barkley, Gary Payton, and I mean Gary Payton ended up, did he win with the Lakers? No, he ended up winning with the Heat. I think because he went to the Lakers and they didn't win in '04 with Karl Malone. They didn't win, I believe. Um, who are these guys like better than now, right? When you bring up the like, let me see if I can go to take a minute. I'm gonna just go to like one of LeBron's um awards here. Okay, so let's just do this one. I think it's the first one, right? You got LeBron James at 24 years old winning his first MVP. Next, you have Kobe in his prime. I think Kobe won the championship this year, the 2010 season, right? Who on that list that Jordan had? And big men, we know how the big men were, but we're just talking about guards right now. Who was, I mean, actually, you could talk about all the big men. Who was better than Kobe Bryant? Was Gary Payton? Is Clyde the Glide better? Is Charles Barkley better than Kobe? Is Penny Hardaway? Is Tim Hardaway? Are any of those same people I just named better than D Wade? Are any of them better than Chris Paul? I think that's a valid argument. Let's keep going. I think he won it in this. Oh, D Rose won it. So the year D Rose won it, who on that list is better than D Rose? Would you take Gary Payton over D Rose? Would you take Clyde Drexler over D Rose? And then look on the. I mean, you got a young 23-year-old Kevin Durant on that list. And again, I just have to ask, who on that list is better than these guys? And then somebody that's not even showing up. Like you have Charles Barkley, you have Clyde the Glide. Bro, they're not even better than Carmelo. And Carmelo's not even on here, in the MVP race. I think he was, yeah, look, here we go. 2013. You got James you got James Harden, you have Russell Westbrook. I mean, in LeBron wins. This is the point I'm making. When you look at the list, just this one, this is tough right here. This is tough right here. And let's just talk about like let's you could talk about like the totality of the career. But there's nobody on that list. And you can argue the big things like that, but guard wise, right? None of them are better than Steph. None of them are better than D Wade. Like look, Charles Barkley, your Gary Paytons, who was over there? Your Tim Hardaways, Clyde Drexlers, Penny Hardaway. There wasn't really many guards, bro. It just wasn't. But I'm taking Steph. I'm taking D Wade. I'm taking Russ. I'm taking James Harden. I mean, Tony Parker was just a really good player at that time. Um, Probably not gonna take him over them. I'm taking Kobe, Chris Paul, Melo, Kevin Durant, and LeBron James over all of those players. And this is in 2013. So for you guys to just act like Michael Jordan's peak was so crazy, and then to just dismiss the people he's playing against. Not saying that they were bad players. It's just they were good for the times, and Jordan's game was just far above them at the time. So if you want to say because of that, you want to say on all levels of eras, it's all about who was like the highest peak of their era. Even that, you have to start saying Wills. You know what I'm saying? Like the thing, a lot of the stuff with Jordan arguments have to do with things you could argue for somebody else. So they bring up rings. All right, I bring up Bill Russell. Okay, well rings don't matter no more. It's only rings in this context. We don't bring that up when we talking about like Bron or like Kevin. We just bring up hooping. You know what I'm saying? We bring up basketball. We bring up talent. They always say like Jordan does the eye test and things like that, but there's always all these other, excuses and stipulations that come with it. I'm just saying that stuff matters, bro. That stuff matters. I mean, look at LeBron's still on here. Steph Curry, James Harden, Russ, the young Anthony Davis. But why? Look at this list. Now we know the big men are gone, pretty much. But who was Jordan going against that was better than Kawhi Leonard? Was Charles Barkley? Was Clyde? That's just all I'm saying. And if you want to sit here and act like who you went up against doesn't matter, then I mean we just gotta agree to disagree. You can enjoy, your most dominant of. You could say he's the most dominant of his era. You know what I'm saying? His peak was so high because everybody else just wasn't as talented. And if you think that makes him the best, cool. Everybody's always entitled. Like when you have these conversations, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, bro. It's all, subjective. But when you start breaking it down and you start looking at, okay, this guy went up against this group of people. Yes, it is a different style of play, but he still has to go up against that group of people in this time. It's always hard to argue what would somebody else do in a different time, also. But to say like Jordan could just hop into this era and go 6-0 against some team like the Warriors, right? Or a team like the Spurs at the time, where you just know he's getting through, the Celtics or having to go through the Heatles. I just don't see that happening, bro. And I think the the I want to say like magic or mysticalness. This is the nostalgia. Think of Jordan as fogged the basketball vision of what's really going on today. What Jordan did is not a. I think at first it kind of was a standard when you look at like guys like how Kobe came in and stuff like that. But as the talent started changing and started growing more, and game started changing, it wasn't really about chasing Jordan anymore. It just was about being the best basketball player um, that you can be. Because what Jordan did at that time is not going to be duplicated. It's just not. You might have somebody like you had your Lukas out here, your Shays out here balling, bro, like balling. But then Luka don't really play defense. You know what I'm saying? Shay not really out here like locking up like that. So yeah, I'm just saying, man, you can't look at this stuff through a closed lens. Like you have to take a look at it at the whole totality, you know? And it's just not to knock again the 90s or Jordan, but it's to bro, sports are gonna evolve, man. At one point, it, let's say there's gonna be a bunch of like 7 footers out there like Wimby or even better. Are we not finna say these players are the best? You know what I'm saying? Like we have if you want to have a debate about legacy, make it about legacy. If you want to have a debate about skill and talent amongst peers, have that debate. But you can't just say because Jordan was so ahead of his peers, it makes him the best. Because there's guys like a Wilt that dominate that conversation, and then it gets thrown out because of the era that it was in, just to prop another guy. It's hypocritical. Game's gonna evolve, man. Take what you want from it. We done with the '90s.